Hey everybody, welcome back with you. If you're new with us, I'm Chelsea from Unger Academy, and today we have the pleasure of chatting with Dave, one of our many students who's found his calling in the world of systematic trading. He's here to talk with us about his experience with us and with trading in general. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, nice to be here.
Cool, cool. We're glad that you're here, and tell us a little bit about yourself. So, where are you from? What do you do for work?
So currently I live in on the West Coast in the US, in the Seattle area. Um, I'm electrical engineer. When got out of school, I started to be electrical engineer for some big companies within the US. Then I wound up moving to Germany. I lived in Germany for a few years. And then I lived in Italy for 15 years. Um, and it's some point that well then I moved back to the US, and eventually I became a manager, and I worked as a manager for several years, and I worked for very large corporations and very small personally owned companies, and a little over a year ago, I quit working, so I currently don't work, um, and I'm having time now to spend more time with the systematic trading and doing things that I really like and enjoy. So
That's great.
yeah,
Congratulations.
things are good.
Yeah, awesome. So, what kinds of problems did you have prior to joining our program, trading related and otherwise?
So for me with trading, I started trading over probably over 30 years ago, before the dot-com bust. So I participated in the run up with the dot-com, and I at that time I just kind of started buying calls, some options, and it was just nuts. About every 4 months or so, my account would almost double. Uh, and then when the bus blew, it all came crumbling down. Uh, and because I have been trading for so long, I've seen and traded through several market cycles, uh, both going up and coming down. And going up is great, and coming down is not so great. But when I was working, even with the market down cycles, I wasn't too concerned, or it wasn't too painful, just because of the fact I was getting a paycheck and all my expenses were being covered, and I didn't really need to take money out of my investments. So
Mhm.
yes, I could see my brokerage account go down, and sometimes quite a bit, but it didn't change my life or anything. I just knew, okay, eventually the markets would turn around and it would come back. Um, but it was painful. The ulcer factor was always high sometimes.
I
Um,
bet.
but after a couple of the big drops, I decided, okay, I should try to find some way of trading and investing that gives me a decent upside, maybe not as big as some of the ones I had seen previously, but I really wanted to prevent the huge downsides. And since I've quit working, that's become even more important, because now not working, I don't have a paycheck coming in. So if I do get a really strong down market, it, financially, I don't think I'll have any issues. But the stomach ulcer problem, that could become more painful. So
Yeah, you need
that's
to
when I
always see
really started,
something
yeah,
coming in.
that's when I really started to look to see, okay, how can I diversify myself? And I would really wanted to try to do things that are not so tightly coupled with the US stock market. Okay, NASDAQ is always great, but when it goes up, it comes down. So uh, I've tried different things in the past, and futures is something that I thought would be the ticket for me, because it is diversified markets. You can make money going up and going down, uh, and you're not completely connected to the US stock market.
Makes sense, makes sense. And it's crazy the being able to experience the Wild West that was the dot-com bubble.
Yeah.
That's That's I bet that gave you some thick skin at least. But yeah, I hear a lot about the emotions aspect of trading. It really impacts everybody. Um, very cool story. Very cool story. What made you choose our program specifically over any other program out there? Because I know in the US market there, we have quite a few options.
Yeah. Um, so I thought it was kind of funny when, you know, I now that I'm not working, I probably do spend too much time watching YouTube videos and I watch a lot of videos about trading and different techniques and stuff. And because of the program and what they do, what the YouTube does, watch what you look at, then they target ads and stuff. And I'll look at different opportunities and things. When I first got I don't remember if it was an ad or an email or how I received the first thing about the Unger Academy. Um, I just thought I just took a really quick look at it and I thought it was about Larry Williams because it said that he'd won the world championship and had taught some of his students and I don't know why. I guess you could say it's like Pavlov's dog world championship. I always think of Larry Williams because of his huge win he did in I think it was in 1987. Uh, and I know he taught his daughter and he has some classes too. So I just thought it was him and I didn't really think too much about it and just okay, I wouldn't say ignore it, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And at some point I noticed I think it was in an email that I got, there was an Italian flag in the upper corner. And I was like, oh, that's a little strange that Larry Williams would have an Italian flag on the email. And I looked at it, okay, it was Andre Unger's Academy, and they were from Italy. And since I lived in Italy for 15 years, I was curious, and so I started to take it more serious and looked at it and read through everything. Um, and the things that really impressed me were the fact that he'd won it multiple times. He won the world championship multiple times, and he taught uh, some students, and he's got multiple students that have also entered the contest and have won the championships. Um, and for me, the fact that he won is great, but for me, it's more important that he was able to teach people that were able to win. Because I have looked and followed other traders that do very well, but I don't think the things that they do are very teachable.
Hmm.
Uh, people can there's been people that I follow that look at a day chart or something or 15-minute chart and they can just have a feel of what the market's going to do and they'll make trades based on what they see. But for them to explain to me what they see and why they trade, it's very difficult. And I just really struggled with some of that trading like that. And the fact that Andrea has been able to teach people and they won the world championship, for me, that was a huge plus. Also, since I am an engineer, I'm a very methodical person and systematic trading really seems to make sense to me. Uh, I've read lots of books on trading and investing, and several years ago, I read a book in the author had mentioned that you should try to find a trading strategy that fits your personality. And when I read that, I thought, well, that's strange. Who cares what your personality in trading is going to be? They're completely independent. But after all these years, I really think it does make a difference. And I just really think for me and my personality and how I think, systematic trading for me makes sense, and it's in line with me personally. So,
For
like I say, I thought it
sure.
was kind of silly when I first read it, but I really believe that to be true.
It makes total
Also,
sense.
yeah. And then another thing that I really liked about the academy, the Unger Academy, was that I was given access to the $1 million database, and so that allowed me to get trading with some strategies with different markets before I'd start even writing my own. And I am trading strategies that I've wrote, but I also am using some from the database. So that was also
That's
a
great. That's
big plus
great.
for me.
Really great to hear. Yeah, back to your point about the finding methodology or a way of trading that fits your personality. I would assume also that the systematic method is going to lessen the anxiety that maybe you had before, because maybe in engineer mind, you have more control if you're using systematic trading in a method, a specific method. So yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly. Plus the fact that um, if you do systematic trading and you do lots of back testing, you can look and see and have an idea of what to expect in down markets or when the strategy is not working, because no strategy works 100% of the time, all the time. I mean, there's down times. Um, but in a systematic approach like this, you can look at what happened in the past. You can say, okay, yes, it's in the ballpark. Don't panic. It's okay. Whereas if it's, having a feel or looking at a chart, and you start to have a bit of a drawdown, you can't really convince yourself this drawdown is just normal. Okay, even though you could say it's normal, but there's no concrete evidence for yourself to say, okay, it's okay. I'm doing things fine. I'm doing it the same way I've always been doing. That's probably the big key for me. I'm doing the same as I've been doing before, whereas it's too vague and you're not defined by a set of rules. It's easy to not follow the rules or not do exactly the same thing. So yes, for me, the systematic approach is much
Yeah,
better.
it's easy to deviate, I guess,
Yeah.
from your system. Yeah, that makes sense. And probably also, knowing that you're programming it to do what you want when you want, or when something happens, you also have that, okay, I can back off from the computer a minute, maybe not look at every minute what's happening. So maybe
Yeah.
also that could make sense. Cool. Was there anything in particular about our program that really helped you?
So I'm a very big believer in you don't know what you don't know. Um, and also, the more you learn about something, the more you realize that you don't know much about what you're trying to learn. Uh, and in systematic trading futures via software, I think is definitely the same type of thing. When I first started, especially being an engineer, I thought, okay, this is going to be easy. I'll get this up and running in a few days. I should be able to understand everything pretty quickly. Uh, and I realized that, okay, I understood things, what I needed to do, but I started to realize pretty quickly that there was a lot to learn. And even today, after several months, I still realize there's a lot to learn. Uh, but every time I had a question, uh, or I just didn't understand something very well, um, I could get help, and I got great help, either from my coach, or from participating in the coaching calls, or sending an email to support. Everyone that I've spoke with has been extremely knowledgeable. As an engineer, and in particular as a manager, lots of times you would ask people questions, and it's very valid to say, I don't know, but I will get the answer for you. But I have never asked a question and someone says, I don't know, I will check for you. They always know the answers. I've just been really impressed on how knowledgeable everyone is. Everyone that I've had any contact with the Unger Academy, they're all really good.
You worked
Um,
really hard to have a team of A players on your
yes,
side. Yeah.
yeah.
That makes me so proud. Okay. Very cool.
Also,
Hmm?
after I got started, I started to think of some software tools that I would like to have to be able to help me in my situation. Um, and as I started to look, I realized that Unger Academy, their coaches and people are also traders, so they have the same needs. And so a lot of the things that I thought that it would be nice to have some software to do, they have the software. Uh, so a couple of the examples are the bias trader. I
Oh
did some
yeah, the
study
bias
some years
finder.
ago of the bias, and I thought it would be fun to try to look into that better. And there's a tool for that, so I was able to use that tool, and I'm now trading some of the stuff that I did with the bias in the tool. Another example is the strategy checker. So with the strategy checker, you can monitor very easily the situation of how your trading is going in your account and the system that you're using to be sure everything's up and running. Um, so that's fantastic. So the service and the help is very good, and there's lots of tools there.
Amazing. Very cool. And as a result of implementing the program, so what you learned so far, what results have you achieved?
So um, I've been trading, I think now since February,
Mhm.
so 4 months or so. And the gains are in line with what I was expecting. Yes, I've had some down months and I've had some up months. Last month was almost an unbelievable up month. Uh, and that was lots of fun.
I
Um,
bet.
uh, and the interesting thing, or the thing that I really, like I said at the beginning, really was trying to get into is I'm currently trading copper, gold, crude, sugar, DAX, euro. Uh, so I'm not stuck on Nasdaq. Nasdaq, it's just I trade Nasdaq and I trade S&P, but
Hmm.
they could just stop working or whatever, and I would still be making last month when I had my best month so far. It was gold and copper. So had I not started this, I would have made nothing last month.
That's great to hear, and wishing you continued success there. So,
Uh,
how have things changed for you since achieving this outcome?
so since I'm not working, I do have more time, and I really enjoyed spending time working on new strategies, playing around so I'm using multi-charts in easy language, writing code, playing around with trying to figure out different strategies. So I'm just having a really good time. I'm hoping that, or I don't want to say hope. My plan is that by the end of the year, I'm hoping that I can be consistently making money, enough money to be covering my expenses, so I don't have to take any more money out of my other, like my 401k or IRA accounts, my retirement accounts.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just been a whole lot of fun.
That's great. That's really great. So, where do you think you'd be right now if you hadn't taken action to join our program?
So I mentioned it before, I probably would be spending more time watching YouTube videos of people that do stuff on investing and wasting a lot of time. Uh, Everyone's got something to sell for. You make lots of money with doing nothing, and you don't need any intelligence and stuff. And I get sucked into that too. I'll admit I watch way too many of those and think, oh, I wonder if that would work for me. So I probably would be doing more of that. Uh, but I made the right decision for myself, and things are going well, so I'm happy.
Well, we're very proud to be part of that story. So, if anyone is watching this and they're on the fence about joining our program, what would you say to them?
So I guess my suggestion would be that in life, nothing is for free, and that includes money, but also time. This is not a get rich quick scheme by any means. You have to spend some time. And as I also mentioned before, there's lots to learn. Um, but I think it's well worth the time. Uh, and Probably more important than anything, just always remember that the Unger Academy is behind you. It's a proven system. It's been proven many times by many different traders. And if you ever need any help, there's a great team behind to help whenever you need it, and they'll answer all your questions.
So proud of this review of our service and all the hard work that we put into to making this program for our students. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much,
No, and
Dave.
it and
It's
it
really been a
shows.
pleasure. Sorry?
Uh, no, it shows that you guys have put time and effort into this, and the people that work for you in Under Academy are top notch, and they really know what they're doing, and they're all very helpful. Um, and yes, they are an Italian company, but everyone that I've spoke with speaks English very well, so the language is not an issue. I'm fortunate enough that I can speak like with my coaching call. Um, I did that in Italian, but I've heard him speak English before. He had an interview like this very early on when he first got started. So his English is very good. But even in the coaching calls, the language is not a problem.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that because I think probably a barrier is, we are an Italian company and they're thinking, it's there's going to be a lot of thick accents, maybe not speaking English well. It's already a pretty uh, intimidating, let's say, world to enter into. Maybe the language would be a barrier, but I'm glad for the confirmation
Uh,
from one of our students that that's not an issue. Well,
no,
thank you
not at
so
all.
much, Dave. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see that you have continued success with your trading.
Uh, Great. Thank you very much, and thank the Unger Academy for everything.
Thanks.